Alabama is arguably one of the best fishing states in the nation for bass. I mean, people talk about it all the time, about how great it is. When you look at Pickwick and you look at Wilson, they're so uniquely different, but they're just phenomenal fisheries. And being a guy that primarily likes to fish mostly shallow, you know, 10 feet or less, I'm probably drawn more to Wilson because you've got a lot of emergent vegetation growing around. You've got a lot of docks, you've got shallow shoals that drop off and little ridges, and this is just kind of the way I like to fish. Clark and I get a chance to fish together several times a year, whether it's red fishing or bass fishing in Texas, but he was in town to help us with the Cabela's Collegiate Bass Fishing Series, and we had a morning free. And it didn't take any twisting of Clark's arm for him and I to jump in the boat and go hit Wilson. And he is just coming off of a tournament over there, so he even kind of had some stretches he really felt like we could do some damage on.
There's a fish.
That's a bass.
Not a bad fish.
Good one right there. A little topwater action.
That's
There's your sign. When we saw the other one, both of us didn't take any time to grab the topwater, didn't we?
That's exactly right. I mean, that's why we start early in the morning a lot of times, is to catch one on topwater.
Oh,
that's a good chunky fish.
It is. I like it. No complaints to start there. Something about a topwater bite that just never, ever gets old.
You know, one thing about it is when you're thinking about, you know, putting your boat in the water early in the morning, you just don't really have any idea. We both like starting shallow, so we're going to start shallow, but then, you know, kind of the sky's the limit. Grass is thick now.
Was it not this thick the other day?
Well, it just, you know, it just wasn't quite as far along maybe or something. You know, I call this stuff water willow. You know, basically what it is it actually comes up out of the water. It looks like the, you know, willow leaves, grows in 3 to 5 feet of water, holds lots of bait. You know, there's going to be brim in it, there can be shad in it. And what we're doing is actually going along flipping it. You can top water it, you can throw a swim jig in it. There's a lot of different ways you can fish it.
Little bitty guys. That's awesome to see though. Aggressive. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, at least I caught one.
Captured one.
I actually caught one. I've been watching you catch them up till now. Not a great big one, but pretty fish. Healthy fish.
You've gotten a little heavier weight, you know, punching into this, which is really what I need to be doing. I'm not penetrating, and you're being able to make those pitches into that thicker cover.
Yeah, and one thing I think happens, you know, I mean, we're out here today, there's not, you know, there's no breeze, there's no nothing. You can kind of tell everything's kind of stagnant. You don't feel like they're going to be up, you know, we're going to catch a lot of fish on moving baits. We've noticed that right off the bat. You know, you kind of started flipping right off the bat. Well, what I think now is that I need something that'll sink down there fast to get a reaction bite. And so, you know, we'll see if it works. There's a lot of different ways you can attack this. You know, you could fish something like a Strike King Ocho around the outside of it, something that falls really slow. You can get a bait right up in the middle of it, something that falls fast. When you're fishing in the middle of it, you've got to have a heavier weight. Now, you need something like a 5/16 ounce weight to actually get down in that, but actually what we're throwing is more like a 1/2 ounce weight. What we want is a fast fall. You get a really fast fall, and sometimes you'll get that reaction bite. That's what we're looking for.
It's in our stomping grounds and our playground. It's in our sights and our commitment. It's in him, it was in them, and it will continue with her. It's in my nature. Is it in yours?
Oh, nice shot.
You put the cool in life. We put the cool in coolers. Arctic ice.
Engineered to excel, the Ranger Z500 and Z100 series are built for the ultimate ownership experience. It's a commitment to excellence packed with real-world advantages and exclusive features. Experience the accelerated performance standards of the legendary Ranger Z series. From first light to last cast, they're put together to set you apart. Yamaha Outboards. Reliability starts here.
When it comes to the most reliable outboard power, the choice is clear. And right now, that choice means even more during Yamaha Outboard's Choose Reliability sales event. When you purchase any qualifying Yamaha outboard, you choose between 5 years of Yamaha warranty protection or up to $1,500 in Yamaha dealer credit. Whichever you choose, one thing is for sure. You choose reliability. Yamaha's Choose Reliability sales event, going on at your Yamaha outboard dealer now.
Let's get down to business. Quiet, you sons of fishes. Now, what?
I'm switching sonar.
Why?
Cause now I can see fish swimming live in front of my boat. I even see fish attack my lure. Y'all sonar's just history. I'm out.
I'm with him.
When I look at Wilson, you know, it's not a very big body of water, but it really actually fishes bigger than a lot of people would think for the amount of acreage that are there. You've got a great tail race where guys will get up and fish for, you know, many different ways, and they're throwing big swim baits, throwing crankbaits, hopping football jigs around. You've got a few little offshore locations up and down it, but you've got a tremendous amount of vegetation and shoreline cover on Wilson. So if you're a guy that likes to beat the bank, and I'm one of those guys, that's just right in your wheelhouse. Just shaking it up and down. He was mad at it. Somebody's caught him before.
You know, you look at this water willow that we're fishing right now, and you can kind of tell what we're keying on. We're trying to get in the middle of it to get a bite. When we stay around the outside, or if we kind of fish winding baits or topwater around it, we hadn't had very many bites. We feel like we kind of got in the middle of it. Got to have heavy rod. We're fishing a Tournament ZX flipping rod, and if you try to get in the middle of that, braided line, something that you can actually get a bass out.
Got him. Fish on.
A little bitty one. You know, the thing I've noticed is, and you know, we hadn't been out here very long. Not a big one at all, but you know, they bite it as soon as it goes in there, because I think the heavy weight, you know, gets them to
react to it as it goes by.
Just one of those, just kind of a reaction deal.
Anytime you're in the boat with Clark Wendlandt, and I've been blessed and fortunate to be able to spend a lot of time around Clark, you're gonna learn stuff if you watch him, but you're gonna see that fiery competitive nature that's made him the 3-time FLW Angler of the Year. You're gonna see a guy that he's dissecting the water, whether you're fun fishing or fishing for $100,000. You're seeing a professional. You're seeing a guy at the top of his game, one of the most recognizable and well-deserved professional anglers that there are out there. And so when I'm standing beside Clark, not only am I trying to catch fish, but I'm also looking at it as an opportunity to learn so many new techniques, how he's looking at the water, and simply why he's approaching it in that manner. You got him. Oh, there's a good one. Nice. Get out the way. That's why we came back to this grass bed.
Now this is the same one we started in earlier. You caught that nice fish on a pop art, and I lost one in the same patch. Now that's a thicker patch right there. And that's a good one. Gosh, he thumped it off.
Why do you think this thicker patch is so key? I mean, I've got my opinion. So.
Well, you know, what happens is that I just think the bigger fish end up getting in those thick places where they can actually sit.
Don't you think it's like a great umbrella too? The sun's out, it's high pressure.
It totally is. I mean, it's just the place that, you know, if there was those thick patches everywhere through here, we'd be sitting there doing this all day long, but we just hadn't found very many of those, to be honest with you.
I mean, you can tell the difference. You look at this, it's like something you'd need to clean up at home. It's a mess. And then you look at that, it's, you know, a little bit thinner.
Totally different, yep.
Sweet. He done found him the magic hole.
That one was just sitting there
thick, thick, thick. I'm out here planking on the shallow edges and getting nothing. That's out of that little hole right there, wasn't it?
It was in the, yeah, kind of in the thick part of that right there. Green, dark green fish right there.
Not very big, and you catch a 4-pounder, I catch a 4-incher. I'm gonna hold him way out there and make him look big.
Engel's got the original high-performance cooler and a whole lot more. Engel coolers, go with the original.
Hobie's Mirage Drive kayaks set the standard for fun on the water. Whether your passion is fishing, sailing, or recreational adventure, Hobie's got a kayak for you. Hobie's Mirage Drive mimics nature's proven designs for efficient and powerful propulsion and enhances your kayaking experience. Mirage Power, Mirage Performance, Mirage Drive. Hobie, enjoy the ride.
When I talk about Sunline, I think of one word: confidence.
Sunline FX2 is what I use for all of my frogging and flipping.
S61 braid, which braid plays a big part in fishing line.
Shooter, I'm going to use in those close quarter deals like flipping and pitching.
One of my favorite techniques in fishing the tournament trail is to fish offshore ledges.
We have taken the questions out of the equation.
Take my word for it. It works. It works, dude.
I love coming to Florence, Alabama, and have for many years. Not only is it the home to the Cabela's Collegiate Bass Fishing Championship, it is just a great place to visit. I mean, all the people there, they get fishing, they understand fishing, and they've got phenomenal fisheries all up and down that area. You've got Pickwick and Wilson there, basically right in their backyards, as well as many other locations, you know, just a short drive away. But Florence, Alabama is a place that I get excited to go to. And fortunately for me, I get to go there quite often.
There's one. Little bitty guy. Gotta start somewhere. Gotta start somewhere, don't you? Whoop! He's so big that he was able to throw my bait there. I hate that. Oh, see, I like that. He just jumped right on off the boat for me. We're just kind of out here cranking and dragging around on an old shelf, trying to see if we can't find something that'll get bit. And, you know, when you can find the mother lode on some of these offshore structure areas, it can really get exciting. There he is right there. Good one. That's a good one right there. God, I only got about 3 cranks in there, and that fish just smoked it. You know, that's the thing about this offshore stuff. It can be thousands of casts till you really get them fired up, and then once you get them biting, you need to catch this one and then unhook him, and then get right back out there while the school's going and fire it up the best that you can. He has that spro. We're gonna get right back out there, see if we can't catch another one right there, because that fish lit it up fast. You know, you see people when they're fishing, a lot of times they want to hold it up, take pictures and everything. That's great, but I'm a believer when you get them biting, you keep them suckers biting as fast and furious as you can, and then you really try to do the boat control thing and keep your boat off that. I've actually getting my trolling motor. It's a little too deep right here to probably put the power poles down. Another good one. Oh man, he ate that sucker good. I might get the pliers out and get him off there. But when you get them biting and you get them fired up, you need to keep them fired up in these schools. And that's really key. We're even taking longer right now than what I like to. I got him good, that spro. There we go. Nice little chunker. Let's see if we can't catch another one real quick. Because, I mean, that's back-to-back casts. We've got them fired up and wanting to keep biting. Keep that school fired up as fast as you can and keep them biting. Pay attention to your lines. You know, you can obviously throw your waypoints and stuff out there in some of these situations, but you also want to, you know exactly where your cast is hitting so that you can repeat that cast over and over to try to catch more. You know, is there a stump out there, a buoy, a house, or a tree up there on the shore, so that you can, you know, hit whatever piece of cover those offshore fish are holding on, you know, and you do that in conjunction with your waypoints and your mapping, and you can really dial it in real good. That's a better one right there. Oh man, that's fun. That is fun. About the same size as the others. But man, they are eating it. Now these Tennessee River lakes, you know, they are famous for ledge fishing. I mean, that is kind of what they're known for. And that size fish right there on this body of water ain't gonna do you no good.
When we return, we wrap things up on Wilson Lake.
Now, that fish was definitely in that thicker patch. Look how dark he is on his back. Pretty fish though.
What I love about the Bradley smoker is that it cooks everything perfectly and it holds all the juices in.
So today we are going to be smoking some barbecue ribs, some venison sausage, and some dove, which is awesome.
You will never grill me doves again. I have to have them in the Bradley smoker. I would prefer to use the Bradley smoker every time I cooked. Well, that's really true because I love this thing. Okay. No lie. For more recipes, log on to bradleysmoker.com.
Gill that I've used for the last 5 years has been a far superior product than anything else on the market.
The main thing that's really important to me is me being dry. I've been wearing gill suits now for 3 years and never once have I gotten wet.
Heavy duty, rugged, and designed for the big game hunter and angler. The Food Saver Game Saver Titanium Vacuum Sealer has the power and performance to seal in the freshness of your game and fish for up to 3 years, 5 times longer than standard storage methods. And with its extra wide dual and repetitive sealing capabilities, that's a ton of big game savings. Tough tested and rated 4.8 out of 5 stars by outdoorsmen just like you. The Food Saver Titanium System, it's a true game changer.
There's 2 things between an angler and the fish, the sun and the bugs. Sawyer's line of sunscreens and bug sprays keep you focused on the fish. Sawyer's Stay Put sunscreen formula bonds with your skin for a more comfortable and better level protection. And picaridin insect repellent will only harm the bugs, never your fishing gear. Also, Sawyer permethrin repels and kills on contact over 55 species of insects. You're already outdoors. Sawyer keeps you there.
Wade and Clark have had a pretty successful day on Wilson Lake, fishing its shallow cover.
Oh, there's a good one. Nice. You know, when you look at fishing shallow cover, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to dissect it. You know, there's going to be a few simple baits that, you know, are designed to cover those water depths, whether you're flipping soft plastics in there with a heavyweight or lightweight. You know, if the lightweight scenarios, it's more when it's a little scattered. The heavyweights, when you're trying to punch it through. When you're fishing the edges and fish are really roaming, you know, you can throw a spinnerbait, you can throw a shallow running crankbait, you can throw a topwater bait, you can toss a frog up there. You know, keep an open mind, keep yourself active. You know, when you look at what's the selection of rods on the deck right now, Clark and I've got a pretty wide selection. There's quite a few baits on the deck. He hit it swimming.
Did he really?
Yeah. I knew my cameraman wasn't ready, so I kind of let him swim after that. See how I played that.
That was a good one right there, I think.
I didn't see him, so I don't know how good he was.
he bit it like as soon as it hit the water.
Really?
Just, boom, you know, just a hard thump.
See if he's really hungry.
Now, that's just part of flipping right there. You know, you just never know, but you know if you're going to present your bait in heavy cover over and over and over again, that one of those times you get a bite, you're not going to get him in. But that's just kind of part of it. I mean, you know some of the time you're not going to get them in, but you can't catch them if you don't try.
John Cruz, professional bass angler here, and I am very particular about all of my fishing, especially the way I keep my line. A fishing line is the most important link between you and the fish. So the way you store it and the way you keep it is very important. I don't like to expose my line to any extreme temperatures, any cold or any hot, so that's why I keep my line all in one bag, try to keep it contained, not leaving it in my truck or in my boat to get exposed to extreme temperatures, so that line's gonna expand and contract. I wanna keep it as, you know, temperature neutral as possible, try to keep it inside room temperature as most as I can, That way, I can preserve my line to last me for years and years. So make sure that you take care of your sun line just like I do, so when you hook that fish of a lifetime, you know you can count on your line.
Better one.
Using that thicker stuff.
Thick, thick, thick.
That's a good one.
I mean, the thickest stuff you can pretty much get into.
Now that fish was definitely in that thicker patch. Look how dark he is on his back. Pretty fish though. He was still mad, wasn't he? Hey, he was still mad. I love that. I mean, that just is he saying, hey, I still got it. Yeah, you caught me this time, but you ain't gonna get me next time. Trying to get me back. You probably owe me for over the years.
God, I never even got a hook in that fish.
He hit it as soon as it
hit the water. And I hit you.
Square in the front.